Today, we're going to investigate a crime that by all accounts should have been impossible. We're talking about a gruesome double murder inside a room locked tight from the inside. This is a case that absolutely stumped the Paris police, but in doing so, it gave birth to a character that would change literature forever. Let's get into it.
Edgar Allan Poe doesn't ease us into this one. No, he drops us right into the middle of the horror. A bloody razor, chunks of hair, literally ripped out by the roots. It's brutal, it's visceral, and it is absolutely designed to shock you from the very first sentence. This sets the stage for one of the greatest and most influential mysteries ever written.
The story, of course, is the murders in the Rue Morgue, and the mystery at its heart is the horrifying and what seems to be completely unsolvable murders of Madame L'Espanaye and her daughter Camille.
The details of this crime scene, they are just grotesque. The level of violence is off the charts. One victim is almost decapitated, the other is strangled, and then her body is shoved up a narrow chimney with incredible force. But you have to notice that last point. A small fortune in gold was sitting right there, completely untouched. So this wasn't a robbery. No, this was something much, much stranger.
And this is where the puzzle goes from strange to straight-up impossible. The door was locked and bolted, from the inside. The windows? Nailed shut. Neighbors heard two distinct voices arguing. One was clearly French, but the other one, they described it as shrill, harsh, and in a language that nobody could place. So you have to ask, how did the killer get in, commit this level of butchery, and then just vanish from a sealed room?
So, faced with this pile of contradictions, the official Paris police force was, to put it mildly, completely stumped. All their usual methods, their focus on routine and procedure, they were totally useless against a crime this bizarre.
Poe, speaking through our hero, just perfectly critiques the police method with this quote. He's saying they're looking too hard at the details. They're so focused on each confusing clue by itself that they completely miss the bigger picture. They were, as Poe puts it, too cunning to be profound. They were looking for a complex human motive where there might be none. And their investigation went where failing investigations so often go. They arrested someone convenient. In this case, a bank clerk named Adolphe Lebon, who had delivered the gold to the victims. They threw him in prison, even though there was absolutely zero evidence tying him to the actual crime.
But someone else was following this whole case in the newspapers. He wasn't a policeman, he wasn't a professional investigator, he was just a private gentleman with a truly remarkable mind. And now, we're about to meet C. Auguste Dupin.
Now, Dupin is not your typical hero. He's this reclusive nobleman who's kind of fallen on hard times. He avoids daylight, lives in the dark, and his main pleasure in life isn't action, it's analysis. For him, just observing things, really seeing them, isn't a job. It's the ultimate form of entertainment.
And this line right here, this is Dupin's entire philosophy in a nutshell. While the police are totally confused by how weird and bizarre the crime is, Dupin sees its strange or outre nature as the key to solving it. He basically argues that the stranger a crime is, the more unique clues it gives you. The very things that baffled the police are to him like giant neon signs pointing right at the truth.
Dupin's special method actually has a name. It's a term Poe introduces to describe this whole new way of thinking, this way to solve the unsolvable. He calls it ratiocination.
Now, ratiocination isn't just about being clever. It's not about having a good hunch. Poe is really specific about this. It's a rigorous, step-by-step process of logical deduction. It's all about following a chain of reasoning, where every single link is built on observation and analysis, not just some fanciful guess.
This slide just lays out the difference perfectly, doesn't it? You've got the police on one side, they're active, they're busy, they're digging deep looking for truth in the usual places. And then you have Dupin. He's quiet, he's observant, and he understands that sometimes the most important truths are actually on the surface, on the mountaintops, visible to anyone who can step back and see the whole picture.
Okay, so that's the theory, but how does Dupin actually apply this method? Well, he takes every single one of those bizarre, contradictory clues and starts weaving them together into one coherent and totally shocking narrative.
Let's just follow his logic here step by step. 1. He checks those nailed-shut windows and finds one where the nail head is broken. It looks secure, but it's not. That's the entry and exit point. 2. The killer had to make an insane leap from a lightning rod to a shutter, a feat of what he calls almost preternatural agility.
3. The brute strength it would take to force a body up that chimney is just beyond human capability. 4. He looks at the hair found in Madame L'Espanaye's hand and realizes it's not human hair. And 5. He finds a ribbon tied in a very specific knot, one that only a Maltese sailor would use. You see, every weird fact becomes another link in his chain of logic.
But the real climax of his deduction comes when he shows the narrator a drawing of the bruises on the daughter's throat. He asks him, "Try and place your fingers over these marks." And the narrator tries, but he can't. It's impossible. The grip is too wide, too powerful. And in that one moment, you can feel the narrator's blood run cold as he understands the terrifying truth. The killer was not human. It was an ape, an orangutan. And suddenly, all of those bizarre clues just click perfectly into place. The superhuman strength and agility, the non-human hair, that shrill voice in a language no one could possibly identify, and the complete lack of a human motive like robbery. It wasn't a murder. It was the rampage of a wild animal. So Dupin places an ad in the paper about a found orangutan, and sure enough, a Maltese sailor shows up to claim it. He confesses the whole unbelievable story. He'd captured the ape, it had escaped from him while trying to imitate him shaving with a razor, and it fled right into the L'Espanaye's apartment. The sailor could only watch in absolute horror as the animal's simple mimicry turned into a brutal, frenzied, violent attack.
So, the case is closed. The innocent man is freed. But the real impact of this story, it was really just beginning. Because in solving this crime, Poe wasn't just writing a thrilling mystery. He was creating something entirely new. You have to think about the time this was written, the 1840s. Cities like Paris and London were exploding. They were becoming these huge, anonymous, chaotic places, and crime felt random and terrifying. Poe tapped right into that anxiety. In a world that seemed to be going crazy, he created a hero whose superpower was the mind itself. A hero who could use pure logic to bring order to violent chaos.
And this right here, this is the blueprint that has been used by almost every detective story since. The brilliant but kind of weird amateur who runs circles around the official police? Sound familiar? How about the loyal, slightly less intelligent friend who tells the story for us? Or the final scene where the genius gathers everyone together to explain exactly how it was done? It all starts right here. I mean, without C. Auguste Dupin, there is no Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. The connection is that direct and that huge.
And that really leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? Dupin's whole method was to embrace the bizarre, to see the strangest, most out-of-place detail as the most important one. It really makes you wonder, in our own complex world, what problems are we failing to solve because we're too busy focusing on the obvious and we're just ignoring the truly weird clue that actually holds the key?